welcome to the Inglorious Blasters podcast, a Star Wars Legion podcast talking anything and everything glorious or inglorious about the game. My name is Corey, and with me today are two slimy pieces of worm-ridden filth, John and Brendan. How's it going, my dudes?
It's going good. How are you doing, sir? I appreciate the classic insult.
Classic Han from Return of the Jedi.
It is. It's a good one. I'm trying to think of how you can use that
insults.
I'm just wondering how you can use it in an actual conversation.
In an actual conversation?
It'd be forced.
It's very forced, yeah. I don't know.
Doesn't necessarily flow off the tongue like most insults.
Definitely not. But today on the podcast, we've got the Crucible tournament to go over. John just went, so he's going to tell us all the details about that. And then we have a mailbag question from a listener. It's rather detailed, so we're going to go break it down. It should be a lot of fun. But before we begin, we're going to give a couple shout-outs to some sponsors of our podcast. We've got Baron of Dice. Check out baronofdice.com. Look at his Faraway Galaxy collection for all your Star Wars Legion dice needs. He's got, the vehicle die, the damage die. That one's very useful for me because I never remember the chart. So it's easy to just roll and see what it is. Use checkout code GLORIOUS for a little bit of a discount. Brendan, what if I want to print off some terrain? How do I do that?
Well, if you don't have a 3D printer, the best way to do that would be to go to Panhandle 3D's Etsy store, get all your 3D printed terrain sent to you. Great print quality. If you're tired of playing on whatever it is you're playing on, or you just want even more terrain, Panhandle 3D, and use code GLORIOUS to get a discount at checkout.
Awesome. John, you got a bunch of dice flowing all over the game table? It's knocking over minis. It's knocking over drinks, probably. How do we solve this issue?
Well, first of all, you would not want your drinks on the actual
Absolutely
table
not.
while you're playing. That's your
not.
first
Who does
problem.
That?
But that aside, if you're looking for a beautiful dice tray, I suggest you go to the Dice Must Flow. Their Etsy shop has all kinds of dice trays for various different gaming systems, and you can get a 15% off discount using coupon code IGBlasters.
Excellent. We also want to give a couple of shout outs for some upcoming tournaments. There's the St. Laurent Open, October 21st and 22nd for Legion specifically. That one's in Canada. Go check it out if you're in the area. Also, the Dutch Worlds Open Qualifier. That is November 18th and 19th. Go check that. Go check out those if you live in those countries and live in those areas. It should be a lot of fun. You're going to get a lot of cool qualifier swag, right?
Yeah, and the Dutch World's Open qualifier is in Amsterdam, so you know what city to look for.
There you go. Well, for all of our European listeners.
Yes, of which we do have some.
We have
in case
some.
You guys didn't know.
We love everyone equally. Brendan, you want to give a shout out to a local tournament coming up?
Yep, a local tournament at Curio Cavern on October 21st in Springfield, Virginia. It's a store championship, trying to get to 16 people. I personally don't know if I can make it, so I want to try and help them get there. Currently 13 people signed up. As we all know, you need 16 for that championship to be given out. So hopefully we can get a few more people to show up, including an alternate or two, if possible, to make sure we hit that 16 in case there's day of drops.
That's right. Try and get that magic 16.
Magic.
All right, John, you just came back from Crucible and Disney. You rode some rides. You rolled some dice. Tell us how it happened. Tell us what you did.
Well, it was a awesome tournament, an awesome trip overall. Jordan from Luminous Gamings did a phenomenal job TOing and organizing this event. There was a lot of locals from the Florida scene, as well as a lot of people that traveled down to Florida for the event just because you're in Disney, or you could go to Universal. And then you obviously had this awesome Legion event that was part of the Crucible. So there was a 40K event going on, MCP. So it was just a really cool event to be a part of. And there was a lot of folks that traveled from all over the place. There was a guy from 5280 there that came from Colorado. So just definitely a very cool tournament to be a part of. Jordan did a phenomenal job. Like I said, there was tons of great prize support. We were one of the sponsors, so we had 8 dice trays. So 4 dice trays went out to top 4 on the Friday heat, and 4 went out to top 4 on the Saturday heat. So just a great event all around. I played on the Saturday heat, which there were 15 players. I think there ended up being 24 on the Friday heat, so 39 players total for the event. They were hoping to get 64, but obviously with the travel and, day of drop, so 39 players total. I was playing Republic, as everyone may have guessed, and I think we also said it every cast.
I made sure to say it every cast.
So I will tell you guys what my list was. I call it Glorious Dodges. I always like to include glorious or inglorious in the title of the name of any of these lists.
As you should.
As you should. So I will not take full credit, first of all, for this list. So shout out to Sam McHenry, because I pretty much kind of copied his list from Nova, but made a couple alterations to it. But if you're not familiar with that list, I will give you a rundown of what it includes. So you've got Anakin Skywalker with Force Push, Saber Throw, and Offensive Stance. Pike Capo. Padme Amidala with Seize the Initiative. Phase 1 Clone Troopers with an RPS, Captain, and Situational Awareness. Another Phase 1 Clone Trooper with DC-15, Captain, Situational Awareness. Phase 1 Clone Trooper with Boyle, 2 Pikes with the Capo and the P-13 Disruptor Trooper, and ARC Trooper Echo. So if you are familiar with Sam's list, the difference here is I traded Force Barrier for Saber Throw and then put Seize on Padme, just so I had an extra opportunity to utilize Anakin's 1 pip and be able to fire support that RPS if I ran into some armor by popping Seize on Padme and issuing an order to that Phase 1 with the RPS, which you'd not be able to do if you didn't have Seize on Padme, because there's no other forms of direct and getting that extra order out on the 1 pip turn. So yeah, I love the list. I would say it is, as you would expect, extremely defensive with the amount of dodges that you are generating. And it performed pretty much as expected. You pretty much just have a million dodges. Everything has outmaneuver. And you're... I think Brendan can probably attest this, because I think you played against a variant of this when you played against Sam, and you're like, you just can't kill anything, basically.
Can't kill anything.
Nothing dies.
It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
The worst.
The amount of dodges that you can generate, if you were curious, once you have Anakin's 2-pip out there and he has Defend going, between Anakin's Defend with the Pike specifically, with their dodge that they get, and then if you aid a dodge with the Capo, and then you get Padme doing dodge quick think, and then Anakin when defensive stance taking a dodge, that's like 7 dodges that you can dodge among the Pikes.
I counted at least 30. I don't know what you're talking about.
It
feels like 30.
Well, then you've got Boyle that can also Guardian a hit.
Boyle's like in my opinion, the worst part of it. Because when you get that 1 through, it's like, I finally got through the 20 dodges. Oh, I only got 1 hit after cover. Okay, Boyle makes the save. It's like, gosh darn it.
It's nuts, and the amount of times that I used Padme's 2-pip just to hand out 2 dodges so that they were up immediately, because I think your opponent will eventually get to the point where they're so frustrated that they're like, okay, the only way that I'm going to kill something is if I play a 1-pip and get to you before the dodges start to castle. So when you see that coming, that's when I'd play Padme's 2-pip. So then you'd have Padme's 2 dodges that you could get from aggressive negotiations, because you'd order out an order on Padme and an order on Anakin, so then they'd each have a dodge from the card. Anakin would have a dodge from defend, and then your pikes would already have the dodges. So it's like, well, I still have 5 dodges up and I'm in heavy cover, so good luck, because you're probably not going to kill anything still. Very frustrating, I would imagine, for my opponent. And then I would just maniacally laugh inside. But
we'll talk about some final Gar thoughts after your recaps. But
yeah, I will.
Gar's really good.
My games were not overly exciting, so I won't spend a whole lot. I will not spend a whole lot.
Like a typical Gar match. Got it. Hey, shots fired.
Got him.
Got him.
So my tournament pretty much ended where it began. My round 1 pairing was.
Sorry, I like the way you phrase that.
My round 1 pairing was against Austin Miller. So if you're not familiar with Austin, I feel like he's pretty much won like 5 or 6 big tournaments in a row.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he's a machine. So round 1 pairing, when I saw that, I was like, well, this is going to be a rough game 1. He was playing Republic, though, and he was doing kind of a situational awareness clone gun line. So he had an anti-Padme clone gun line, 9-act. He was 800 points to my 799. I chose to be red because the one table side was extremely cover heavy and had a really nice line of sight blocker that I thought would definitely help my situation of being able to kind of pick off 1 or 2 of his units on the approach, because I outranged him. He had Z6s in his squads with the situational awareness. But we ended up playing VAPS, Long March, Clear Conditions. So the challenge here being VAPS, and me being 799, I had to kill something of his, otherwise we tie 4-4, and victory goes to him with me being 799 to his 800. So I think the first model died somewhere during round 4. So the first 3 rounds, we literally just went back and forth positioning, taking pot shots and dodging out of everything. And I was literally, my main goal was, how do I kill Padme or the clone commander? Pretty much the only thing that didn't have outmaneuver on it. So I literally just kept like positioning, and he had this little tiny building, and I felt like his entire army just kept shifting from one side to the other side, from one side to the other side. And finally, I had gotten 2 or 3 wounds on Padme. It's hard to remember at this point. And I was like, all right, I've got her set up to fire support her at range 4, take her out, and then I'm home free because I'm at range 4 and we're in round 4 and I can take off. And then Anakin, which I did not see him doing, he played a 1-pip, and Anakin just came flying out into the center of the board. And I was like, okay, I did not see this happening. So Anakin got to me. And to make a long story short, he ended up killing 2 of my Pike squads, and I took out Anakin, and it came down to kill points 170 to 172, because he had no training upgrades on his Anakin, so he got me by 2 kill points, because we tied 4-4 on the VAPs, obviously. So,
2 kill points.
2 kill points.
It's pretty crazy.
I don't know if I've ever had a game that close. It's usually within 10. I've had within 10 before, but not within 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was a close one. So, so game 2 was against Paul Ingren. Really nice guy. He was doing Dooku Asajj, 8-act list. We played Hostage, Major Offensive, Clear. Hostage is not what you want to play when you're playing CIS, because his B1s did not get to double move because it triggered AI, so they had to shoot me. So turn 2, I fire supported him. The hostage was stuck out in the center of the board, and then he pretty much had to keep running a unit out there to try to grab the hostage. I kept picking it off, and then after he lost 4 units, he conceded at the end of round 4, I believe. So when we scored it, it was Well, actually, I think he ended up grabbing... Now that I'm thinking back, he ended up getting it with a squad of Magnas, because then he kind of like Hail Married Asajj, and while he grabbed it with the Magnas, I killed Asajj. Then he got away with the Magnas, and then at that point, I was like, I'm not going to chase you, just so you're aware. And he's like, I figured you wouldn't, we might as well call it. So then we just scored it 2-2, and I got him on kill points 352-0.
Yeah.
Which, because again, you're not going to kill anything once I was pretty much, because at that point I have no reason to go after him.
Yeah, yeah.
And then game 3, I was against Kevin Kilgorn, who's one of the 5280 guys. Really cool dude. Came from Colorado. 800 point, Annie 501st, 8-act list. He had 4 full arc squads, so he had Echo and a full arc.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty sweet. We were doing VAPS, Advanced Minefield. I got pretty lucky. I set up a very long fire support turn 1 with the RPS and because we were on advanced positions, so I scouted it forward. So between the RPS and the pikes that move shot, fire supporting by the RPS, and I used all of the aims between Anakin and offensive stance, Padme, pretty much the works.
The whole boat.
I rolled it into 6 hits. He was in the open because he was going over to his VAP, and I don't think he saw this very far shot in the works. And he blanked 5 of the 6 dice. So,
oh no.
Yeah, so full arcs, one-shotted. So that was a 97-point squad on VAPs, dead, turn 1. And then it was pretty much just like, well, good luck, because you have to come to me.
That's terrifying.
John,
yeah,
you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I pretty much, as you do with this list, sat in heavy cover, and he got to run his Anakin and everything else at me. And it ended up being, 4-4 tie. I killed Anakin, killed a full P2 squad with a medic and a mortar. Obviously took out that full arc squad. Had another full arc squad down to 1 guy that he then ran back. Had another full arc squad down to 2 guys that he ran back. But total points killed were 351-86. And then he called it when Anakin died. So it was tied 351-86, 1 on kill points. And that was my Crucible, 2-1, with the only loss to Austin Miller game 1. So pretty successful overall.
Good job, sir.
It was a good time. Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
The real question is did you get blue milk?
I did not. So we went to Universal. We did not go to Disney because Universal was walking distance from the hotel that the Crucible was at.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Fair. And we had never actually been to Universal. We've done a lot of Disney trips. So we did decide to check out Universal, which was awesome. I will say my girls are 5 and 7. Universal is definitely for a older crowd for sure.
For sure.
So
yeah.
So I enjoyed all of the roller coasters. They were not tall enough to ride most of them.
Sit this one out. It's
This is Dad's vacation.
We had a good time. Overall, it was a great time. The Velocicoaster was sweet.
Oh my god, Velocicoaster's insane.
Yes, very intense.
Oh my god. How much airtime did you get?
Airtime?
Okay, so like they advertise like your butt is going to be off the seat for like I don't know, X amount of seconds, like 10 seconds. It's nuts.
I don't know. I honestly I couldn't even, I was literally, as I was going up, there was a kid who's probably like, I don't know, 12 to 13 sitting next to me. And I think he said it was like his 5th time in a row on the ride. And I was just like, he's like, this is so crazy, dude. Are you ready? And I was like, this guy is very amped up for this thing.
It's a crazy cool ride.
And then I was, for a second there, I was actually like, should I be on this roller coaster? Because it is... There was a lot of terrified looking people around me.
Dude, it is, for those of you that don't know, like, it is crazy. Like, this is the fastest roller coaster I've ever been on. And like, when you get strapped in, it's not an over the shoulder thing. It's like this tiny piece of, like, I don't know, basically what felt like plastic that just goes right towards like your groin, right? And you're just holding on to that for dear life, but your butt is flying off the seat the whole time. And you're doing flips, turns, and all these other crazy maneuvers.
You're like going upside down
terrifying.
while corkscrewing, while going like 75 miles per hour. So it's like
very fast.
It's the borderline between like fun and like, is this actually
and am I
unsafe?
Gonna die?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, no joke. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna fall out of this entire ride.
So I haven't been on that one, but I experienced a similar thing at one of the roller coasters at Hershey Park.
Which one's that?
Is it canned ammonium?
No, I can't remember which one it was. It was years ago at this point.
Oh, Hershey Park's fun. I like Hershey Park.
It's great. But I was coming out of the seat and I'm going, am I sure I'm tight enough in this thing?
Yeah. It's nuts. Oh man. I could go on for hours on Velocicoaster, but I will not. I'm excited to go back to ride that one because I definitely want to do it again.
I will have
and
at some point.
As a single rider, I pretty much like walked on to every big ride.
That's awesome.
Like easy peasy. And that one I got off and my wife's like, wow, you were so quick. You want to do it again? And I was like, I think I'm going to pass.
I already rolled the dice once and I lived. So.
Yeah, I was a little like shook up by it. Like I was like, yeah, I think I'm good at once.
It's nuts. If you love roller coasters and thrills, that's one to do for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, if you want to talk about roller coasters and stuff, how about check out our Discord? We have a off-topic, aka not Legion chit-chat channel. We've got a whole bunch of other channels as well. Show off your mini hobby work, stuff like that. The link is in the show notes. You should just automatically be added. People are coming in all the time. It's popping. Check it out.
It's a fun time.
Oh yeah. And then couple other quick plugs. You can find us on most popular podcasting apps now, including Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube. If you leave us a rating and a review, that would really help us out. If you also want to email us instead of like joining Discord and stuff like that, you can email us at swlingloriousblasters@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, The Inglorious Blasters, a Star Wars Legion podcast. And you can follow us on Instagram at SWLIngloriousBlasters. So with that out of the way, how about we go over to the mailbag? Brendan, will you grace us with your presence and read us this very lengthy but awesome mailbag question?
I mean, it's not very lengthy, but it's definitely hard-hitting.
It's asking the hard-hitting questions.
It has the hard questions. So this is from Graham on our Discord. And he says that several of the content creators for Legion are saying that white save armies are in a bad place right now. Why is that? He asks because they save one fewer hit than reds for every 6 hits they take. Not all that significant of a difference, and presumably they make up for it in other ways with firepower, points, cost, etc. He's also hearing that the dice pools have gotten bigger. Aside from clone fire support, why is that? Is that related to white save suffering? Lastly, folks seem down on rebels in particular right now. What's causing them to struggle? I ask because it might be related to the above. So that's the questions. Cool. We'll start at this in pieces because this is a lot.
Let's definitely section it out. Yeah.
So we'll start with the white saves. Corey, as the guy who plays the most white saves out of all of us.
I don't think white saves are in a super bad spot. There are winning lists with white save armies. So specifically droids and rebels. So the rebel side is pretty easy to talk about. Cassian, you see in most winning rebel lists, and you also see Ahsoka. Those two work very well together. You also see FD turrets.
To be fair, Ahsoka has red saves.
Fair, but you can take her in a white save army.
Yes.
As one of your main red sources, right? Anyways, yeah, you could take FDs in Rebels as well. FDs are performing very well. They're cheap. They're efficient. Even though they don't move, they could just basically blow up. Like they have a zone of control. Let me put it that way. So I don't think Rebels struggle too much. What they might struggle with is like unit variety at the moment in what's winning. Rebel Vets is like the main choice for choices of core, mainly because they have a nice range 4 gun and they just kind of hit hard. You can get some crits through cover, right? Which is nice. You can shoot at armor or you could shoot at troopers. It works either way. Red saves are to compare red save armies versus white save armies. It depends on the board. If there's a lot of line of sight blocking, it's fairly even. If there's not, red save armies are going to generally win. They're going to have an easier time. Because if it's a shoot off, red saves save better. At least that's like, my first take on it. What do you guys think?
I'm going to slightly disagree with you on the white saves. In that not all white saves are created equal. And my biggest case in point are the rebel troopers compared to the Pike Syndicate foot soldiers.
I'm going to interrupt really quick. I don't know if you can compare Pike soldiers and rebels at the same time because they have so many keywords.
Exactly. This is my point.
Yeah.
It's that in a rebel army, you can't just do a Pike swarm. Sure, you could get up to 3, but you still have to have a 3 requirement for your core. And those options are between rebel veterans and rebel troopers and fleet troopers.
Right.
All of them have surging white defense dice. So there's, they're all equal when it comes to the true probability of rolling a die. It's just that some units have better chance of you not rolling dice. And we fully know white defense dice, even surging, are still statistically worse than rolling red dice for defense.
Yep.
It's just a stat.
Yep.
So it is a matter of that you're not getting as much for the points. So I know that pikes are like the best unit you can think of for core for white saves, because they are. But when you look at a pike capo, squad with the capo and the disruptor, that's 86 points. They're going to have a dodge every turn because you're not giving them an order, and they're getting a surge token every turn. So they have that extra surge token to help on offense, and they're already better at defense because they have built-in outmaneuver and a dodge. Right?
Yep.
Rebel troopers, they are cheaper than the Pike Syndicate. If you want to give them also a range 4 gun, that gives them the DLT, and there's no way to give them a native surge token. The closest thing you can come to is giving them a rebel officer. At that point, they are then only 4 points cheaper than a Pike Syndicate unit. And they don't have a built-in dodge. Sure, if you can get them the dodge with Nimble, that's awesome. But if you really want to get them to be close to the capo, you have to give them a rebel trooper, captain, and give them situational awareness. But now they're not a courage 2 unit like the pikes are. They're just a courage 1 unit. And they're 79 points, so it's closer, but they still don't have that built-in dodge or that built-in surge for offense. Otherwise, they've got the critical 1 at that point. But it's that the extra keywords on the pikes, plus they've got the danger sense. It's the rebels are hurting from timing, I think, with their white saves, because they want dodges. That's the rebel philosophy overall. The rebel veterans, you give them orders, they're going to get dodges, but then they don't have nimble like the regular core. It's hurting, and they're a very hero-centric army, so their orders don't necessarily want to always put it on the core or on the if you're bringing a Leia or a general officer, you're not necessarily making sure you have the order control on them to get the dodges out to everything before anything else happens. I don't know. I think, and we'll get into it more with the dice pools, but I think it's a matter of just a little bit of power creep. And either the older units need some a little love, in terms of maybe an extra keyword or something, or they should go down in more points because they're not bringing as much as other units of comparable points value.
I got a lot to talk about with what you said, but I want to let John speak.
I'm out.
Yeah, the noticeable change I feel like really happened because you touched on a lot there, Brendan, when vigilance went from 5 to 12 points.
That's what I was going to mention. There you go.
Because then the rebel armies, they really relied on 2, if not 3 copies of vigilance, which used to cost you 10 or 15 points, and now you just can't do that at 24 to 36 points. But that would allow you to have those insta-dodges that you could hold on to with Nimble, so you were ready to rock and roll right out of the gate, almost like you could with a pike, where they have it right out of the gate. Yeah. Now you actually have to set up, and you just don't have the time or the timing to do that with multiple units, like you used to be able to, where the dodge was just boom, it's there. Or not boom, it's there. You just maintain it essentially from the previous round, like you'd use vigilance for. And I feel like when vigilance got essentially nerfed across the board, it hurt rebels the most out of any faction. And then when you combine that with the power creep of dice pools getting bigger, now you have a faction where their saves were the weakest. They no longer have access to holding on to those dodges on the cheap, because they can still do it. It just costs more. And dice pools are getting bigger. So their saves are still where they were, which is not optimal like you have with a red save army. Their dodges are more expensive to get, and you don't have them right away because you've kind of got like the timing issue there. And you've got all these other factions getting all the new toys where the dice pools are getting bigger. So if there's any time for you to need all those dodges and need all that defense tech, now is the time, when it's actually the opposite. You lost all that defensive tech and offensive pools are getting bigger. So it's like a double whammy. So it just is it feels bad. It makes them feel like they just basically die to a strong breeze.
Yeah, agreed for sure. Do you think droids operate? I know we just talked about rebels a bunch. Do we think droids operate any differently? So previously, I relied a lot on heavy cover to neutralize a lot of the incoming shots, and one of the ways that droid players struggle is their guns don't do anything anymore. B1 guns don't do anything because they relied heavily on the E5S, the sniper variant. So the range 1 to 4 red, white, critical 1 gun. Basically, you're searching for a crit, sometimes 2. Sometimes you get lucky. Just sit there and plink shots at range 4 and force opponents to make saves. What's going on is that there's I kind of want to add this into the conversation a bit. There's a lot of defensive tech in 1 to 2 specific armies right now. It's basically Shadow Collective pikes if you take them in mass, and Gar.
Republic.
There is way too much defensive tech in Gar. I've known this for a little while, and Gar is repeatedly top dog. You win games if you don't have to roll defensive dice. That's really the short end of it. If you don't have to roll, you just win. So that's why that red save army is just really, really in a good spot. They can just neutralize most of your shots. And then, oh, look, I have a red save to bail me out of this. Oh, look, I have a couple surging red saves to bail me out of this. So that's why droids specifically struggle. So that's why you mainly see a lot of droid players picking playmakers and melee SKUs, kind of like Magna's and Cad Bane. They're relying on them a lot to get them out of this weird jam. Droids used to play, well, at least I did, spiders and big vehicles to like throw some big offensive shots. The CRB happened, all right, so the new rulebook, and cover change. So my AAT no longer hits as hard. So like that's like an issue. Your spider no longer hits as hard because you're not getting those out of cover shots. It's like all multi
points
mixing.
Went up drastically for the spider.
Yeah. Oh, also points. Yeah. Also points. So all of this ties in together where white save armies that want to do a lot of plink shots and like kind of chip you away while trying to keep some of their defensive tech just doesn't like work as well anymore for the reasons that we listed above.
White save armies also aren't the best offensively either.
Right.
Rarely do they have surge to attack on their white save units unless they're heroes. So your defense is a little worse, and then your offensive dice might be a tad better than, unless you're even the B1s. I mean, they're still rolling whites. They are literally the worst core in the game, which makes sense. They're B1s.
Hey, you take that back. I have a lot of heroes that roll 4 crits when I need them to.
Statistically, they're the worst in the game. All right. Well, the Ewoks now give them a run for their money, but
fair.
The Ewoks have low profile, so
Oh man, that's even more defensive tech. Anyway, sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, so it's they're in a tough spot because everybody gets cover now. That's pretty easy to do, but it doesn't help. Especially like with B1s, they don't even surge on defense. They're just a 1 in 6 chance at rolling a block.
Yeah.
Unless you have ways to mitigate your ability to roll dice, like John and his evil shenanigans, it's going to hurt every time you're shot, and you just can't withstand that constant firepower. Even, there's sometimes where, hey, cool, look, I actually rolled, a couple blocks. Oh, wait, that dice pool had Pierce in it, because that's a very popular keyword people bring to deal with the red armies. So,
you know what I kind of wish? I kind of wish all the defensive tech of Gar was like actually spread to rebels and droids, because I feel like that might help white save armies feel a little bit better. I don't want to like flat out give them exemplar, and I know both of them could take barrier, right? But like stuff like that, would definitely help those white save armies more.
I mean, the real question is, why isn't Luke or Leia have exemplar? I mean, that seems like a keyword that would make perfect sense canonically for them.
It's one of those, they didn't develop it until
I know.
They had to. Yeah,
power
it's half power creep, half like, oh, look at this new shiny unit. It has this new keyword. Yeah. Anyways, I think we can go on to the next question. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
cool.
so.
All right. We kind of handled the part about the firepower, points, cost, etc. Dice pool's getting bigger, aside from clone fire support, which is just ridiculous amount of dice.
Yes. It's
why
insane.
is that? And does it have something to do with white save suffering? I will go ahead and start. Yes, dice pools have gotten bigger. And yes, that has led to white saves hurting. When the game started, we had stormtroopers, we had rebel troopers. Stormtroopers tended to be built just the 4-man squad plus the DLT. So it was 4 white, 2 red, surge to hit.
Yep.
6 dice.
Throwing 6 dice, baby.
Throwing 6 dice. Rebel troopers, they tended to be the 4 rebel troopers and the Z6. You're rolling 4 black, 6 white, but you don't surge to hit. So
when the game first started, the averages on those 2 squads was like fairly even. From what I remember. So like it felt good to like fight rebel troopers against stormtroopers. So
and it wasn't always nice. Heavy cover. There was more ways to get out of cover shots. I mean, you're on average for both shots doing a wound or two per shot.
Yeah. And then as the game went on, we got introduced to like range 2 pools. Like fleet troopers threw a bunch of dice, and then so did scout troopers at range 2, which was neat, right? Like, so you kind of put yourself in the danger zone by going towards your opponent, but you're rewarded with a bigger dice pool. Now we get like a range 3 pool. I remember when shore troopers first came out, I was like, what is this 8 die pool with critical 1 coming at me with an aim?
Yeah.
That was monstrous. And then if you wanted to, you can add fire support from the mortar itself. So I was like, oh boy. That was the first like real real big dice pool for me. I was like, this is a lot. There was a lot of times I got the full 8 boat on the
shores come out before the stormtrooper specialists? I can't remember.
I'd have to go back.
I feel like they did, but I could be wrong.
I'm going to try and find out while we talk.
But I remember, like, if you have let's say 2 aims, like, one from an officer or Veers, because that's what you played back then, and then one from target on the shores. Yeah, I very frequently got the full 8 boat, and like I could get an out of cover shot and just delete a rebel. Like any rebel trooper is like, well, that's dead. Shores were good, and then like, yeah, that was the first instance of like higher dice pools. Now, just to fast forward a little bit, pikes kind of throw an equivalent die pool to like an ATST at range 3 and a surge. It's kind of silly. And then you got dark troopers that get to go twice. So that's, if you're at range 3 only, that's 8 plus 8. That's 16 dice coming at your face with critical 2 if you add them together. So firepower has gotten a lot bigger.
So the shore troopers came out August 2019, and the stormtrooper specialists were January 2020.
Okay.
So yeah, the shore troopers were the first ones where we went, wait, there's a heavy weapon with 4 dice and critical on it.
Yeah. The ceiling was real high on the range 4 gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was real happy when I hit all 4 at range 4. I was like,
times.
oh yeah.
It was worth it to sometimes not move your shore troopers and just go, all right, I'm just shooting with the 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's like you come to me. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, the whole chain, order, and it issued them pretty much just down the chain.
I took advantage of that. That was fun.
It was before I started playing. Bring it back.
That was right before droids came out, so I'm glad they got rid of it in Empire, because that was basically Empire's faction identity at the moment, which was shores and mortars having full order control, basically.
Well, no, you had full order. Cause
and they all had aims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was silly. It needed a nerf, along with coordinated fire.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, dice pools just keep getting bigger. A range 3 pool is basically really strong, as strong as a range 2 pool is what it seems. And then what is that? The magdets of the Black Sun Enforcers at range 1. If you get them in range 1, I already forget how many dice it is. It's 12.
Three black and yep.
The full pool, right?
Yep.
Like that's a silly amount of dice. And then if you have the frag grenade, you're surging to crit as well. Yep. So that's just scary. There's a lot of built-in scariness going on.
And then, in more recent memory, just this year, the Dark Troopers.
Oh, I did mention them, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many dice at range 3 and then even more at range 2.
It's 10 at range 2 if you have 5, the 5-man squad.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
And blast.
Yeah.
So then your cover's gone.
Man, Dark Troopers, I don't want to make it a Dark Trooper discussion, but Dark Troopers are really good. They have a ton of firepower. They do degrade as you kill models, but when you kill 2 models, it's still okay because you still get to shoot twice.
They are. They're not as popular as they were, though.
No. That's a meta thing, though.
Yeah. A lot
or
of
the
impact
community
out
shaming. I feel I feel like if you show up with
shaming.
double darks, people would just like side eye you.
Yeah, I definitely got some looks at oh god, the top deck games tournament. They're like, "You brought what?" I was like, "Yeah, I brought Dark Troopers."
because you're a horrible person.
Yep. I don't feel bad about this. I play to win.
Me too, but I don't do it as a degenerate. I mean,
Right. Do you guys feel any other dice pools of like any other call outs? Or did we hit like the highlights? Like
there's various things. It's more than just an increase in die pools. It's not just a ranged issue either. I mean, it's like the pikes also with their stun batons. You know, they're
right, in melee.
In melee, it's even just a naked squad of pikes is rolling 8 white dice in melee. Depending on how the dice go, you know, they could one shot Vader or Grievous technically.
Well, that they didn't one shot him, but that happened to me like at PAX last year. Last year, yeah. Vader went in against some pikes and he just got obliterated.
That's like the pikes in that Anakin Padme list that I was playing. If somebody wants to get in melee, like when Anakin charged me, I was like, all right, between the 12 dice with the 6 guys and Anakin Padme and all the aims that I can share, I can roll those 12 dice into...
And you have surges to share too. Oh, God.
Yeah, I can roll it into 10 hits pretty reliably, 10 plus hits. Because you could get 2 aims on Annie, 2 aims on Padme, an aid and aim from the capo, the aim on them. So if you aim attack, you could have up to 6 aims. So it can be a pretty nasty pool that people might not really see coming because that's just not something that's on their radar necessarily.
Definitely. Stun batons on pikes are real good. They're main melee.
It's interesting. I was thinking about this also from the perspective of CIS and Rebels haven't really had like these crazy lists come out that just dominate the meta in a while. Rebels in years, I feel like. CIS had, I mean, Triple Magnus is good, but their last thing was like double AAT, then it was the Spiders, but for the last year, all we've been hearing about is Blizzard, then double Dark Troopers, and then Gar, you've got Annie Padme, you've got these unkillable, like dodge spam lists. So part of it is also just Rebels and CIS are running up against these so overpowered battle formations and just dodge spam lists that it makes them seem so inferior. White saves aside, it's just a very difficult set of matchups right now with the meta. So I was thinking about that also. Like, white saves aside, if they're going up against Blizzard Force, I mean, Blizzard Force is still good, but even pre-nerf, everybody was getting crushed by Blizzard Force. Everybody's getting annihilated by Double Darks when it was Double Dark and the Guardian shenanigans from IRG and all that. So the last year, it's almost difficult to make some of those comparisons, especially for Rebels and CIS, where they really haven't had any of the really cool, new, shiny, like, ultra competitive battle formations.
Yeah, and I mean, we have seen Rebels and CIS do well at big tournaments, so it's not like they're not competitive or they're not good. I just think with their current state, it's more of a learning curve to be good at those factions than at Empire or Republic or even Shadow
They have
Collective.
the tools. They have to bring the right set of tools.
Yep. That's a better way to look at it, for sure. Yeah. I'm not saying they're not competitive or they're terrible. I just think
it's
like Blizzard Force and Double Darks and all that, like Double Darks specifically, like you can just basically...
It can make up for a lot of players'
demolish your opponent. You know what I mean? You're just never going to do that with a Rebel list, regardless of it. I mean, unless you're playing like a new player. But Double Darks, you could demolish like a pretty skilled player.
Yes.
If they're like, it just
Yeah.
it just is what it is.
Like basically at the top deck tournament, I played against the Rebel triple ATRT with the laser cannon, right? So that's impact 3 on that. And then he had vets, and this is a matchup that I should lose on paper, but I won because all my Dark Troopers made all the red saves. Red saves are really, really good. If you get a surge on them, they're really, really good. So like, it's crazy that Dark Troopers get to bring the firepower and can save like just very well.
Yeah.
That's like one issue on top of another issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It's almost maybe another way of saying it is if one faction is good, but another faction is amazingly overpowered, it makes the faction that's good seem like it sucks. Even though it doesn't suck, it's just perfectly fine. It's just when everything else is overpowered.
I don't think there's any faction currently that's truly overpowered, because nobody's got a amazingly better win rate than any other. We're not talking like 80% of tournaments are won by one faction.
True. Yep.
There's still some parity. I'd say there's maybe a 20% difference between the bottom and the top in terms of win percentages.
I will borrow a phrase from Mike Berry, 5th Trooper. Gar is basically playing a different game than everyone else.
Yes.
I think they're way too good. I think that's the faction to play. I'm sorry. It's like you could
No, I agree.
You can call it a hot take, but it's kind of crazy. They keep showing up.
Everyone's
caught on. It's all defensive tech. The more defensive tech you pile on, the better.
Whether it's Anakin and Padme or Yoda and Padme, as long as you've got some pikes in there, also, they can do what they want.
Basically, pick your Gar flavor. Do you like pikes? Do you like Yoda? Do you like Anakin? Like staple Padme? Like, because she's a really good token battery.
Could I play Gar?
Boyle is Bay.
Sure.
There's Barrier. You got choices
Gar?
for days, right?
I'm having too much fun with the Imperial Remnant right now. All right, I'm trying to make that work.
That's fine and dandy. That's fine. But
without Dark Troopers.
Just to say, I have been playing Gar. When they were good, bad. Now they're back to good. So I've been riding the wave.
John,
I played Wookiees
for
over a year.
They've always been good.
John, talk to me when you start playing crazy Gar lists, like when we first met. And I had clone commanders in my phase 2 squads, so I had all the surge tokens.
John did play
I do
Wookiees.
recall that. Yes, so. For a year I played Wookiees.
When they were good.
Well, that's
he was riding that Wookiee bandwagon. Yeah, he's like, I see Rebel Wookiees doing well. I'm going to do it in Gar.
I didn't see a lot of people doing Gar Wookiees, though, to be honest.
Not really.
I saw Yoda Wookiees, but no one was playing... To be honest, I don't remember ever seeing anybody do... Because I was doing Chieftain, Triple Wookiees, Padme, 3 Phase 1s, and Echo. And I never saw anybody else doing that.
Was that the list that I murdered with Vader and Dewbacks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Other than that, that anomaly, that was...
Nice. Yeah, so I before we ramble on more, I think we kind of answered the last one. Folks seem down on Rebels in particular. What's causing them to struggle? It's definitely related to the above that we talked about. Yeah.
Combination.
I don't think Rebels are bad. I think Rebels are good.
Mm-hmm.
So
there was a person who won the Worlds qualifier in France with an Ewok army. So
yeah, absolutely. Ewoks are good now.
I think it was like 14 activation.
Well, not now,
Ewok
but they're good. Yeah. You can't kill all of it. There's defensive tech.
It's impossible. Even with the bigger dice pools, you can't kill it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. Well, that kind of led me to the other thought of, I do think CIS is in a better spot than Rebels, for sure. Like, as far as the white save.
Where they have like one, maybe 2 effective lists.
I agree.
Like, I actually really like the triple Magna CAD list.
Same.
But
It's
again,
really good.
it's like half red saves, though, if you think about it.
But you're bringing the best tools, right? Which is like Magnas with heal bots or repair bots, excuse me, is really good. Magnas cost a bunch. B1s with repair bots do not, so you can kind of spam them in a sense. And
Free
you can bring
tokens are
back
nice.
free tokens are nice. You can bring back the punching power or the firepower at range 2. It's real good.
This is why I
And-
like Remnant. Free tokens.
Free tokens is like another issue. Like a lot of, as the game went on, everyone got increasingly more free tokens.
Yeah.
That is
100%.
Yeah.
there weren't free tokens at the start of this game.
No,
Back in my day,
which is
there
not-
were
which is-
no free tokens.
There was
Which is
command
not
card
bad,
tokens. That was it.
yeah. I think again, I'll go back to Shore Troopers because that was the first one where I was like, all I got to do is just put an order on them and I get an aim. That's silly.
Yes.
I know they didn't surge, but they had critical 1, so it's
But
like.
I prefer in the world now where we have independent. I prefer that because you have to put in the effort to get orders on things to give them tokens.
Yeah, I think independent. I don't want to say it's not. I'm going to choose my words carefully. Independent is like really good for doing nothing,
Yeah.
and that seems cool if you splash it in certain areas, like bounty hunters. That's cool. They're doing their own thing. You know,
Now
it definitely
what
helped
if-
CAD a lot. CAD was struggling before he got independent dodge too.
yeah. Now what if
So
the wording of vigilance changes so that it cannot save dodges on units with independent?
That might
And
fix-
and
you knock it down points.
Yes.
I mean, that would definitely save a lot.
Because
of
I think
lightsaber
that's
bombers.
where the majority of the problem came from. It wasn't
I think
necessarily on the rebels; it was on the pikes.
Yeah, it was a pike
Yes.
problem, and the rebels had to pay for it
And
also,
the rebels
essentially.
suffered for their sins.
Right.
Yep.
So if it goes back down to, let's say, 7 points and says it can't be used on units with independent,
Yeah, I think that would. I don't want to say it solves, but like it would definitely help out rebels, smooth out the curve. You would definitely see a lot more regular rebel troopers come back into the meta with their range 4 gun. Was it the DLT something?
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. That like vigilance dodge spam would be like back in style for rebels, and you would either like see the vet gun line or the dodge rebel trooper spam for flavors. So I think that would help it out.
yeah.
for
But then
sure.
it's not a unit with outmaneuver with 2 dodges at the start of every turn. You know?
right. Oh man, pikes are just pikes have a lot of the keywords. They have so many of the keywords.
They do.
I mean,
Now, I shared with you guys in our one chat a ridiculous list idea. And neither of you reacted. I was very sad. It was the other week. I know. You're the
I'm a
worst.
busy man, Brendan.
But, I was thinking, what's the most ridiculous thing I could do with the Inquisitors when they come out? And it was a gun line with both Inquisitors, with Barrier, and then basically a shore gun line with Medbots. So I got this thing up to like 10x. Just imagine. All right, cool. You've got some snipers. Now Barrier. All right, cool. Barrier. All right, cool. It's basically a new clone ball where I just make sure I put orders on the shores and just murder things.
And just murder things. Yeah. Just barrier the pierce and the high velocity shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good stuff.
And then, you think you're going to get into melee with me? I've got 2 Inquisitors. Think again.
Good luck, sir. So now that I don't want to go on a full tangent, but now that you brought up Inquisitors, they're really cheap.
They are. I think they're a little too cheap. I love it, but I think they're
I was a little spicy on the last cast. I think some sort of change might be coming before they come out. So basically near the end of Worlds and when they come out, something's got to shake up because This is my
My theory is the other Jedi go down in cost.
Right, like a points change, a rules change,
Something.
Other units get buffed.
Something's happening that we don't know.
I don't think we're seeing
about.
the full picture, so I will reserve judgment until they're fully broken and out, and nothing has changed.
Anakin could use a points reduction. That would probably be.
Nope. Nope. He should go up to Yoda.
He's gonna go up at least 10, I would imagine. The next.
I think Anakin would be fine if he went up to Yoda cost.
I agree.
Like legitimately. That would leave Obi-Wan the cheap Force user.
Obi-Wan can go down a little bit.
He can. It's fine.
Obi-Wan. Is he a playable character in this game?
Yeah.
Are we switching to Shatterpoint conversation?
Honestly, of all the Jedi in the Republic, Obi-Wan is still the one that scares me the most in Melee.
It's probably because of the standby.
No. It's because his surge to defense does the most.
Okay. Yeah.
He could, if you get, let's say you roll your 6 into him with a lightsaber attack or whatever, and he happens to have a dodge, and then he rolls his defense dice and he rolls all surges. All right, there's 5 wounds back. It's
yeah, that's the exciting pipe dream though.
It is.
It's very possible. And
Anakin, all right, cool, you do 1 back. I'm not scared anymore. A lot of people don't shoot Anakin because it's the guaranteed 1 back. Well, it's 1. It's not like
it's 1.
He's going to wipe your squad in the return fire.
Right.
All right, cool. I'm sure John goes, hey, look, you gave me a fire support shot at your Anakin. Yes, I'm going to take it. Whereas if somebody says, here, fire support my Obi-Wan, he's got to dodge. You might second guess that one.
Honestly, you just fire support Anakin and just have Echo be your basically the guy who fire supports him. So then he can't hurt Echo because he's immune to flex.
Oh, immune to flex. Okay, I was trying to figure it out. There it is. Yep. Yeah.
Well, that would
that's how I always started off.
Okay, we've definitely been rambling way too long, so we appreciate the question on the Discord. If you guys want us to talk about something ad nauseum, please email us.
That'll stop them from submitting questions.
Well, people might like this format. Just hear like a semi-educated ramble. Who knows? If you like this, let us know. If you hate it, also let us know. We'll never do it again. All right, everyone. I'm going to land this ship, so I'm Corey.
I'm John.
I'm Brendan. Roll dice. Don't be a coward.
Yes. Stay glorious, everyone.